Josh Allen beats the Chiefs in the regular season once again. JJ McCarthy stays undefeated in the state of Michigan when he beat the Lions last week. And the Bengals versus the Bears put up over 80 points of offense with no defense to be found. Week 9 of the NFL season is in the books, as well as the trade deadline. This is Twin Football. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us. Jacob, what is your biggest takeaway from week 9 of the NFL and or the trade deadline ending this past Tuesday before week 10?
A lot of excitement going into the final days of the trade deadline. To be honest, I was expecting a little bit more to happen. I was kind of hoping more of a blockbuster deal to happen, but maybe we got spoiled by that Micah Parsons trade right before the season started. I think the biggest trade for me was Sauce Gardner going to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and Adonai Mitchell. It's one of the most mutually beneficial trades I've seen. I think Sauce Gardner is a great young talent. He's only 25. Colts clearly think that they might have something going this season and could potentially push for an AFC championship berth or even a Super Bowl berth. I'm really excited to see what he can do on a strong Colts team. He's got to be so glad to be out of New Jersey. But other than that, not too much going on. I was hoping maybe Myles Garrett would get traded to a Super Bowl contender. I'm surprised AJ Brown stayed. I think more than anything, seemed like a really good time to offload him.
Yeah, I think the only person who lost that Jets and Colts trades was Adonai Mitchell. Proves to show if you drop the ball before crossing the goal line, you will be traded to the Jets, which is just a fate nobody wants. And like you mentioned, no AJ Brown trade, no Trey Hendrickson trade for the Bengals. I thought for sure that he could be on the move to get back some capital that you could also spend on that defense. That defense was atrocious against the Bears. Jamar Chase came out and said how he just wanted one effing stop. That's all they needed to win that football game, and they were unable to do it against the Bears and that Bears offense with Caleb Williams. And so I've come up with a new rule, and they can practice this during their bye week. They should never kick off regular anymore. The Bengals should always onside kick. They had a better chance of recovering an onside kick than forcing the other team to punt last week. And if you don't get the onside kick, you gave up 20 yards. That's it. If you don't get it, you give up 20 yards. You were going to give it up anyway. You're telling me that defense can get a 3 and out. There's no chance they get a 3 and out. So onside kick every single possession. And I guarantee you the Bengals will win more games. You got a week, 10 days or so to practice it with the week off with the bye. Get better at it, get some hands team, put T. Higgins out there to go recover it or something like that. And oh my gosh, what do you think about my proposal to Zach
I
Taylor?
think it makes sense. Opposing offense is going to score a touchdown every time. Might as well expedite that, get your defense less time on the field, if anything. And then you can wear out the opposing team's defense by having a longer drive yourself and give yourself more time to work with.
But that is a recap quick of week 9 and the trade deadline. So let's get right into it with the Raiders taking on the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football, an AFC West matchup. The Broncos took on the Houston Texans last week in two of the best defenses in the NFL, and it showed hard yards for the Houston Texans and a bunch of field goals as they could not punch it in against this Denver Bronco defense. 5 plays inside the 5-yard line against that Broncos defense, and they didn't budge 1 inch. It ended up being 2 offensive penalties that pushed them out of the 5-yard line and 2 field goals. No touchdowns allowed to the Texans offense, and now they welcome in a Raiders offense that's in the bottom 10 of the NFL in red zone touchdown scoring percentage, and they lost one of their best weapons in trading away Jacoby Myers to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Myers in this game last year had over 100 yards receiving, which was a very hard thing to come by with that secondary that had the defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain. He will be out for this one against the Raiders, but it will not matter in Mile High. I like the Broncos to win comfortably and improve to an AFC leading 8-2 after 10 weeks. What a start for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, we gave the Raiders a chance last week and they blew it. I'm not going to pick them to win any game anytime soon.
We got to give, we asked Geno Smith to just throw 1 pick, right? We just said, just only throw 1 this time. And he did that. And they deserve to win. And also, I must give a round of applause. You had the opportunity to tie the game with an extra point in overtime, 16 seconds left, and you went for two to win the game. You're obviously fighting for the number one pick, a better draft selection. You're trading away part of your wide receivers at the trade line because you're trying to get better draft capital, and you still went to win the football game. So I will have to give you a slight
I don't mind
applause.
that call.
Yeah. But you're going to get smoked this week against the Denver Broncos. Sorry about it.
Yeah, next up, we have the Falcons taking on the Colts. The Falcons are coming off a devastatingly close loss against the Patriots. Kicker Parker Romo missed a game-tying extra point with about 4 minutes left in the game. They did not waste any time after the game and immediately waived kicker Romo. The Falcons did get the ball back and were on the 50 with 2 minutes to go, only needing a field goal. They only needed about 15 yards, maybe even 10 yards to give Parker Romo another chance to redeem himself and win the game. I thought there were some absolutely horrible play calls by offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, and they didn't give Romo the chance to redeem himself and then just blamed it all on him. Seems a little brutal. I didn't like that at all. I thought they should have handed it to Bijan a couple times. They threw it too many times. They needed to waste some clock anyhow, and they didn't get any yardage, and then they turned it over on downs. Just some horrible play calls, and I feel bad for Parker Romo and Younghoe Koo. They're on their third kicker of the year already. They couldn't get anything going on the ground the whole game. I get that they were playing from behind most of the game, but they got to give Bijan carries to open up the pass and get into less third and long situations. They only converted 1 out of 10 third downs in that game. It absolutely killed all of their momentum. Their only conversion on third down was a 3rd and 2. And it's because they're not chunking away at that yardage with arguably the best running back in the game right now. It's much easier to convert a 3rd and 4 than a 3rd and 7. This offensive coordinator seriously needs to get his stuff together.
Too many weapons. Yeah.
The Colts are coming off a tough loss to the Steelers. Colts don't lose often, but when they do, it's 27-20 with a crazy fourth quarter. Daniel Jones with his worst performance in a Colts uniform, throwing 3 interceptions. Giants fans have got to be low-key a little bit happy about that performance, and we'll be telling Colts fans that that's what he does. He's inconsistent. I don't think it's any time to panic. I think Daniel Jones is still arguably the MVP of the year, but he did have a really bad game. Jonathan Taylor with a rare unproductive game himself. But really, it was the turnovers that just killed them. 3 interceptions. It's just hard to win a football game when you have that. I think the Colts win this one pretty easily and bounce back.
Yeah, what a great matchup. Another running back 1 versus running back 1. Both could be in the MVP race. Jonathan Taylor probably already cemented himself here in the MVP race, especially if he can bounce back from that game last week. And the Colts to improve to 8-2 would be a great start for them. The Giants will take on a Bears team who are looking to keep pace in the NFC playoff picture themselves after a back and forth win over the Cincinnati Bengals, where no one was able to play defense. The Bears, 500 yards of offense, 30 first downs, 3 turnovers forced, turned it over 0 times themselves. They only allowed 2 sacks. They forced 3 sacks. They had the ball for 34 minutes of the game. They were 2-2 on 4th down, and they won by 1 possession. There is nothing there for me for the Chicago Bears. And the defense, again, forced 3 turnovers. The Bears haven't won a football game this year where the defense hasn't forced 3 or more turnovers. Caleb Williams has never won an NFL game where his defense didn't force 2 or more turnovers. Jackson Dart, coming into this one, losing all of his weapons over the last couple of weeks, has only turned the ball over once in the last 4 games. And those games include the Denver Broncos defense, 2 times against the Eagles defense. So you know that they have been playing high level defense and they've been holding on to the ball. They've been trying to push, and then San Francisco last week, and they've been just trying to methodically move down the field. I think they're going to have success in Chicago. Possible snow game as well. Light flurries expected, maybe a little bit of wind. This is going to be a run battle. Both of these teams bottom 5 in the league in run defense. You know the Bears, Ben Johnson, they're going to want to run the football to set up the play action. I think it's going to be almost all running for them, especially if the weather does turn. The Bears should win this football game. It is set up for them to win this football game. They are taking the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands, and they are going to be running the football with all of the complement of healthy backs that they have. It doesn't really matter against this Giants defense. They should win this game. But again, they haven't won a football game unless they get turnovers. I'm going to pick the Bears, but the recipe for success here for the Giants is to not turn the ball over and methodically move the ball down the field and make sure you score in the red zone and force the Bears to kick field goals. The weather isn't going to be as great, so that's going to be, maybe we won't see a field goal for that, but I'll lean the Bears here, but I expect it to be much closer than 14% to 86%.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift is back in practice. He's still limited. They're going to really need him if the weather's not good, if Caleb can't throw the ball as much. That should be a good game, though. I could see that one going either way. Next up, we have the Bills taking on the Dolphins. The Bills are coming off a huge win against the Chiefs. Josh Allen with almost a 90% completion percentage and one of his best games of the year. James Cook has been absolutely massive the last few weeks. After losing 2 in a row, the Bills have rebounded well, but the Patriots have 6 wins in a row, so they will need to be perfect here to keep on pace with that hot Patriots team and will need a win in this one. The Dolphins are coming off a bad loss against the Ravens. After a great win against a decent Falcons team, we thought the Dolphins and Tua might be back, but the game against the Ravens seemed like more of the same that's been happening this whole year. There's just something going on in Miami. I know they've had their fair deal of injuries, but Tua just is not the same quarterback as we've seen the last few years. The Dolphins have fired their GM, but Mike McDaniel still has his job. People will be calling for it soon if they continue. But at this point, I don't know if they have much to play for. And his entire offensive scheme and players are built around Mike McDaniel's philosophy. So I don't know if he's going anywhere anytime soon. The Dolphins, before the trade deadline, gave up linebacker Jalen Phillips for a 3rd-round pick to the Eagles. A lot of fans of Super Bowl contenders will not be so thrilled about that trade, but honestly, pretty good trade if you're a Dolphins fan. They declined offers for Jalen Waddle. I think they would have been willing to let him go if they could have got what they wanted, but probably not enough teams wanted to give up a 1st round for him. Probably should have done a little bit more if you're the Dolphins before the trade deadline. I'm not really sure where they go from here. It's looking really bleak for the Dolphins. I got nothing but Bills here.
Yeah, if you're the new GM that walks through the doors, whenever that's going to be, are you going for a complete teardown here? Or are you thinking you have enough keystone pieces if like Tyreek Hill comes back pretty healthy, Jalen Waddle, maybe, I don't know if you're going to keep 2 or not, that you can kind of push for a playoff push? Or are you going full rebuild?
I guess based on what they did, they're thinking, let's see if Tua can figure out how to play football again and then go from there. There's still a lot of football to play in this season, so I don't really mind that strategy, but it does not look like Tua's coming back, so I might just hit the panic button at this point.
I would hit the panic button. I think
I wouldn't want that job. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, right, exactly. Especially you look over at the Bills, who have won the division, seems like every year the last 8 years since Josh Allen's been in the league. You have possible MVP candidate in Drake Maye. Patriots strike again with a quarterback. The Jets now have 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. You think that they're going to be able to use that to get a cornerstone quarterback themselves. And then you're the Dolphins with Tua, who can't stay healthy, Tyreek Hill coming off of a gruesome leg injury, and some random pieces on defense that seems like a sieve still. I think that is definitely the worst job there in the AFC East to try and manage. So I would go full teardown. But another team that traded a defensive player to the Eagles this week is the Baltimore Ravens, trading away Jair Alexander after acquiring him this past summer. He is having the same issues as he had in Green Bay. He cannot stay healthy and get on the field for any productive amount of snaps. See if the Eagles with that secondary can just plug and play him. Probably a better fit for him because of all the pieces that they have, and they're just going to need him in spots to make an impact, and maybe that is exactly a better role for him. The Ravens will take on a Minnesota Vikings team who bounced back in a big way after their bye by beating the Detroit Lions with J.J. McCarthy back healthy as well. A great start to that game. Blitzed the Lions both on the scoreboard and across the offensive line. Jared Goff seemed like he was sacked every single drive from that Minnesota Vikings defense, from Brian Flores, who's had some success against Lamar Jackson blitzing as a member of the Miami Dolphins staff back in 2021, where the Dolphins got a pretty convincing victory. He has not, however, taken on Lamar Jackson as a member of the Vikings staff. So we'll see what game plan 4 years on he is going to throw at Lamar Jackson. We know Lamar Jackson's record against the NFC is very good. And a big reason for that is because they don't get to see players like him a lot on that side. He's a unique talent. You take some getting used to, especially now that he has Derrick Henry to give the ball to. My big problem with the Ravens offense, you look at last week against the Miami Dolphins, they were a little bit slow to get started. A big reason they were even winning at halftime was because of the turnover there inside the 20-yard line from the Dolphins and the Dolphins' inability to execute in the red zone. If you get off to a bad start here against the Vikings defense, they're going to be able to throw a lot more defensive packages at you, and the Ravens are going to have to get away from the run game. The Ravens, to me, in the run game have been very predictable. Derrick Henry is on the field, certain formations, you know they're running it, you know they're running it left, you know they're running it right. It's been very, very predictable. Obviously, it takes a lot to stop a guy like Derrick Henry, but if they're playing from behind, I think they're going to have a lot of issue with this Minnesota Vikings team. No Aaron Jones, though, for J.J. McCarthy to use like he did last week against the Detroit Lions. So I think J.J. McCarthy is going to struggle a little bit. The Ravens defense also getting healthy. So I think this is a low scoring, very close game, and I'm going to lean Ravens here. I think they are a little bit more desperate than the Minnesota Vikings with their, second year, but really rookie quarterback and JJ McCarthy trying to get things going still for 4 quarters in a row. Give me the Ravens, but I do think this is going to be a very low scoring game, and the Ravens cannot fall behind early, or I think it will spell trouble.
The Ravens are only 2 games back at AFC North, and the Steelers have a tough matchup Sunday Night Football against the Chargers. It's
Need it.
crazy to think after this week they could only be 1 game back. I think they're most people's favorites to win the AFC North. Seems absolutely wild to say. I'm kind of hoping they pull it off. It'll be a great story. But next up, we have the Browns taking on the Jets. The Browns are coming off a bye week, and before that, a tough loss against the Patriots. Myles Garrett with 5 sacks by himself in that one. Again, I was hoping he would get traded to a Super Bowl contender by the deadline. I know he really likes being in Cleveland, but it would have been awesome to see a talent like that go to a contender. Dylan Gabriel remains the starting quarterback, but he is just 1-3 since taking over for Joe Flacco. He's averaging only 4.9 yards per attempt, which is the lowest in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders is dealing with a back injury, but if Gabriel doesn't pick it up, we could see him in just a few weeks. The Jets are coming off a bye week also. And before that, their first win of the season against the Bengals in a crazy game. The Jets traded cornerback Sauce Gardner to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and Adonai Mitchell. They also traded Pro Bowl D tackle Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys for a first and a second. Seems like some really smart moves. If you're the Jets, they're not going to do anything crazy this year and just rebuild and plan for the future. They still have a lot of young talent in Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson that they can use these picks to build around. Doesn't seem like Justin Fields is their long-term answer at quarterback. So hopefully someone emerges in college for them to pick up, but they're really going to have to use those first and second picks to build around Breece and Garrett Wilson if they can hold on to them. This is a tough game to call, and I am going to go the Cleveland Browns to win this game.
Ooh, Cleveland Browns, 70% on ESPN picking the Browns. I think a lot has to do because of the trade pieces. I think the narrative around the Jets here are that they are going to be tanking, and rightfully so at 1-7. They hold currently the number 1 pick in next year's draft, 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years, and they could have made it a little bit more, but no one was willing to give up more than a third-round pick for Breece Hall, almost a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. What an addition that would have been for Patrick Mahomes in his bye week. The Patriots take on the Buccaneers, who are coming off of their bye week in what I am calling the MVP game. Okay. I have picked against the Patriots in the last 2 weeks because of the fact that they went against 2 defenses and the offense of the Atlanta Falcons that I thought would give them trouble. They handled both of them pretty well. Obviously, defeated the Browns by more than 1 score, a closer game against the Atlanta Falcons. But Drake Maye, when asked to make the throws, he was able to do that. And so we're going to play a little bit of a game, Jacob. We're going to play Maye or Mayfield. So I want you to tell me which one of these quarterbacks goes to the better stats. So I'm going to give you two sets of statistics. Which one, Maye or Mayfield, has the lead in these statistics? 59 carries, 270 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This is rushing versus 22 carries, 158 yards, and 0 touchdowns. Maye or Mayfield, who has the better stat line?
I think Drake Maye this year.
It
Actually,
is Drake Maye. Absolutely. 59 carries, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 8 carries a game over his last 4 games. Maye or Mayfield, 17 passing touchdowns, 13 passing touchdowns. Maye or Mayfield?
Baker for that one.
No, it is also Drake Maye. 17 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. That is
Seeing a pattern here.
better record than Josh Allen. I have Josh Allen.
Lamar Jackson has more throwing touchdowns than Josh Allen. Fun fact.
Yeah. And Josh Allen is currently the front runner for many people's MVP race. QBR 74 or 61. Who is the better, Maye or Mayfield? You are right. It is Drake Maye across the board. Clean sweep. So, having said all of that, am I going to pick the Patriots this week and learn from all of my mistakes? No, I'm not. And here is why. Okay. Now, I will, if the Patriots win this game, Drake Mayfield will be my leader in MVP. Okay.
Drake Mayfield?
Yeah, Drake Mayfield. Exactly. Drake Maye. Yes, Drake Maye, I apologize, would be my MVP after week 10 if he goes into Tampa with the Bucs off of a bye. Yes, the Bucs won't have Godwin. Yes, the Bucs won't have Bucky Irving. But the Patriots' only way to success against this run defense in Vita Vea is to throw the ball or have Drake Maye make plays with his legs. Again, averaging about 8 carries per game over the last 4 games, getting needed first downs when things start to break down. He is able to extend drives that way and get points up on the board against pretty good defenses in the Atlanta Falcons and the Cleveland Browns in the last 2 weeks. He's going to have to throw the ball with great touch. He's going to have Levante David lurking around in the linebackers, and it's going to be all on Drake Maye to get a win in Baker's house when he is off of a bye. And if he can do that, I think he will be my front runner for MVP. I don't think they do that because I think they have relied a little bit too much on Henderson over the last couple of weeks, especially running between the tackles. That is a recipe for disaster against a team like the Tampa Bay Bucks. Christian Gonzalez banged up in the 4th quarter last week against the Atlanta Falcons. He is going to be on shadow coverage with Emeka Egbuka. That's going to be a great battle there to see who is going to win out. I think Emeka, coming off of a bye, might have a little bit of an edge, but Gonzalez did great work against Drake London. Yes, Drake London had over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, but most of that was not when Gonzalez was lined up across from him. So we will see what Baker Mayfield, that run game and that pass game can do. I like the Bucs at home, but oh man, if Drake Maye can win this game, he will.
How great of a story would it be if he can win MVP in just his 2nd year? He'll be the first MVP since Lamar Jackson to do that in his 2nd year. I can't believe anyone's ever done that, to be honest.
He's already in amazing company with the likes of 2011 MVP Aaron Rodgers with 8 consecutive games over a QB rating over 100. So he has been in fine form across the board and is having one of the seasons to remember. And to put him with Lamar Jackson on top of that, and it just pisses everybody off, I think, because it's happening to the Patriots,
Right. Good for Drake, though. Next up, we have the Saints taking on the Panthers. The Saints are coming off a tough loss against the Rams. Tyler Shugg did not look better than Spencer Rattler, but it looks like he will get another start. I don't think Kellen Moore and the Saints front office is too worried about wins at this point. The Saints and the Jets are definitely in a competition for the first overall pick at this point. Chris Olave seemed to have a much better connection with Spencer Rattler. To be fair, they've had a lot more time to build synergy, but Shugg will need to find him more in this one after they just traded away Rashid Shaheed, and Kamara is dealing with a bit of a knock, so we'll see if he gets a full snap load. The Panthers are coming off a huge upset win against the Packers at Lambeau Field. Somehow they sit 5-4 and have won 4 of their last 5 games. They're just 1 win back from the Buccaneers in the NFC East. What the hell is going on this season? Rico Dowdle and their defense is putting the team on their back. Still not convinced that Bryce Young is a starting quarterback in this league, but as long as the team is winning, he will be kept out of criticism too much. It just shows what can happen if you have a defense that strong. If your quarterback just doesn't make that many huge mistakes, he still threw the ball in the back of the end zone straight to the other team. So he's still afforded some mistakes, only had 100 yards passing in that one, in their best win of the year. I'm going Panthers to win this one, but more the Saints to lose it. It's crazy to think that the Panthers might actually have a chance at the NFC East. I don't think that this storyline continues that much longer, but right now it's pretty hilarious.
The fact that they could find themselves kind of tied, obviously Tampa Bay's already had their bye and Carolina hasn't, but tied in the win column after this week with the Patriots can
Right.
go in there and beat the Bucks is amazing. And the fact they beat the Falcons, they've beaten the Green Bay Packers, some good wins, all on the back of that run defense and run game. But no defense has been better this season than the Houston Texans, even though they find themselves with 5 losses. That defense continues to put up historic numbers, and they welcome in a Jacksonville Jaguars offense that has just been so poor. The fact that the Jaguars sit at 5-3 and the Texans sit at 3-5 is mind-boggling to me. The Jacksonville Jaguars had the ball for 42 minutes compared to 26 minutes against the Raiders, and only won that football game in overtime because the Raiders were unable to complete a 2-point conversion. This offense reminds me a lot of the Bears. They need turnovers to get anything going. They need short fields to get anything going. If you're going to rely on the quarterback to make plays down the field, it's just not going to happen. Travis Hunter is on IR. Brian Thomas had only 3 catches last week against the Raiders. They were so unimpressed with the link up between Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas last week in Vegas that they brought Jacoby Myers back with them, who only had 4 catches in the game. All right. They are looking for anything in the passing game that they can get their hands on. I don't think it's going to help, especially against a Texan secondary with those corners that they have. And Will Anderson is going to have a field day. I like the Texans comfortably. They're going to have to turn field goals into touchdowns. I think they will do that against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense with Nico Collins back again, healthy. Give me the Texans, even with CJ Stroud out, to beat the Jaguars.
Yeah, Nico Collins coming back. Christian Kirk playing his first game in about a month last week. He's getting more snaps. So I think this Texans offense can do a little bit
Those look
more.
good.
Obviously, they still need their main guy, CJ, back, but I see the Texans winning that one, and we doubt the Jaguars once again. Next up, we have the Cardinals taking on the Seahawks in an NFC West rivalry game. The Cardinals are coming off an impressive win against the Cowboys. They have named Jacoby Brissett their starter. They also placed Kyler Murray on IR. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think that they're doing that for Kyler to save face a little bit. I don't know exactly how bad his injury was, but I don't see him starting anyway. Jacoby Brissett's just simply been playing better than him. The offense has looked so much stronger since he took over under center. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, more than anyone, seems to be really happy with the switch. They've gotten way more receptions, more touchdowns. DeMercado also with a solid game that might have earned his starting spot back. You got to be happy for the guy after that horrible mistake, dropping it right before the end zone a few weeks ago. We'll see if he gets named the starter going into this one. The Seahawks are coming off a dominating win against the Commanders. Sam Darnold had arguably the best half of football ever. 4 touchdowns, 0 incompletions, just a perfect half of football. And that Seahawks offense was rolling. The Seahawks have traded for deep threat Rashid Shaheed from the New Orleans Saints. I think it's a great pickup with Cooper Kupp's injury. Not sure when he's going to come back. He's getting on the older side. So it's even if he does come back, how long is he going to stay healthy? JSN is already having a monster year this year, but having Rashid Shaheed will get him open even more than he already is. The safeties have to respect Shaheed's speed to get in behind them. So that opens up the slot for JSN that much more. The Seahawks are still struggling a bit on the ground, but everything else is rolling for them. That defense looks good. Sam Darnold looks awesome. I got Seahawks pretty handily in this one.
Yeah, what a start. And especially on the road. Some of these road wins that Seattle is putting together this year, and even last year, they went 7-1 on the road, I believe. And this year, a great record really at home and on the road, but they are just putting together such an amazing season. And the other NFC West matchup this week, maybe the better of the two matchups, because we have the other two teams who are also in first place with the Seattle Seahawks on 6 wins going into the week, is the Rams taking on the 49ers. 4 out of the last 5 times that these teams have played, the road team has came out victorious. And you would expect the same if you are getting the same Matt Stafford as you have in his last 2 games opposite of the bye week. 9 touchdowns against the blitz for Matthew Stafford. He is just ripping you apart. If you're sitting back in coverage, if you're blitzing, he is on fire. He hasn't thrown an interception since week 3. That is going to be a lot of points for Mac Jones to try and keep up with, even with the likes of Christian McCaffrey and that defense. I think the Rams get a revenge game here up in San Francisco. I don't like that Kyle Shanahan came out and said that this is Brock's team, even though he hasn't played for the last 6 or 7 weeks and continues to battle the turf toe injury that Kyle Shanahan also said he's going to basically have the rest of the season. I think Mac Jones has given his body to this team over the last couple of weeks, playing week in, week out, proving that he could be a starter in this league and for the San Francisco 49ers. I think is an unnecessary comment to make. I think you can say things that Brock Purdy is coming back, but you don't even believe that. And so I think it's going to hurt a little bit Mac Jones's confidence. I like that Rams defense to come in. They are a top 2 defense in terms of scoring defense to cause problems for San Francisco. Give me the Rams on the road.
To be fair to Kyle Shanahan, and if you watch Mac Jones's post-game questions, they always ask him about it. He seems very much on the same page with Kyle Shanahan that this year he is the backup. I really don't think that's much of a story. Brock's our quarterback right now. I see what you're saying, and Mac Jones deserves a lot of credit. He's been absolutely amazing. I love Mac Jones, but Brock Purdy is definitely the starting quarterback of the 49ers for the foreseeable future. At
Yeah, I
least
like
for
Mac
this
Jones
season.
saying that. Mac Jones coming out and saying that, showing support to his teammate. But the head coach saying it, he's not teammate of Brock Purdy. He is the coach of both of them. And so that's where I have an issue.
That's a fair point. This should be a great one. 49ers best
Huge
win of the season
overtime
was
win.
their win against the Rams when they're completely depleted. They haven't had many people return since that game. I think Ricky Pearsall might be back for this one, but yeah, what a game. I'm super excited for Sunday.
Always a 1 possession game between those two as well. So it's going to be fireworks. The Detroit Lions taking on the Washington Commanders, who are just injury plagued. Who do you got in this one?
Yeah, another team that's been plagued with injuries is the Commanders. Lions are traveling to DC for this one and are coming off a really tough loss against the Vikings. The injuries on the Detroit offensive line was very noticeable. They were completely outmatched by the Vikings D-line. They let up 5 sacks and could not get anything going on the ground. No holes for Jahmyr Gibbs to run through, and he doesn't need much. The Lions did not do anything before the trade deadline, but if they're able to get their O-line back healthy, I really don't think they need anyone. This is a complete team, but they need to get some people back on the offensive line if they're going to want to have a good playoff run. Commanders are coming off a devastating loss against the Seahawks. They got outplayed the entire game. And then to make it way worse, their star sophomore quarterback left the game with a dislocated elbow. Jaden Daniels had just come back from another injury. A lot of people were questioning why he was in the game late in the 4th.
I don't have a problem with it myself. I think we see it all the time. Coaching decision to get some offense going. Or a team who's lost, 3 in a row, especially Jaden Daniels coming back, trying to get back into the fold, get the offense clear. I didn't have a problem with it. Did you have a problem with it?
I thought of both sides of it, and I like your point a lot. It's so easy to criticize the coaching staff after the guy gets injured, but
Yeah.
when else are you going to get back into a rhythm, try to get in a run? You only have one game every week. I don't mind it that much, but man, it hurts so bad when he left the game, I think with 7 minutes left in the 4th quarter, and they're
Gruesome
down by
injury.
multiple scores. Gnarly dislocated elbow. The Commanders sit 3-6 on the season, and it's sad to say that their season is probably over. It's crazy to look back at their run last year and the expectations going into this season. To be fair, again, the Commanders have had insanely bad luck with injuries, so I'm sure that they'll have a lot of enthusiasm for next season. But for now, they should probably just wrap Jaden Daniels up in some wool and call it a season. I think the Lions win this one pretty easily.
Yeah, wow. If the Giants can pull off the win in Chicago, which is definitely in the realm of possibility, the Commanders will find themselves bottom of the division after 10 weeks, which is absolutely insane, especially with the injuries to the Giants that they've had themselves. Pittsburgh looking to stay atop the AFC North, even though everyone has the Ravens storming back to take over that by the end of the season. They will have to travel almost across the country to take on the Chargers at SoFi, which will be predominantly a Pittsburgh Steeler crowd as those fans travel extremely well. And they're going to be hoping that the Steelers can put together another 6 turnover performance. I have to apologize to Mike Tomlin. I came on here last week and said, good thing that Mike Tomlin just said that they have to call out the defense. That's going to fix everything, because I guess it did. I've never seen a turnaround of a defense that quickly by just the coach saying we have to identify that there's a problem. He said that they got 6 turnovers against one of the most high-powered offenses in all of the NFL, in the Indianapolis Colts, and were the reason why they got that victory. If they can do that again, they're going to win this football game, because teams are, since 2012, if you force 6 turnovers in a game, you have won 23 out of 25 games. Now, the Steelers had the lowest margin of winning in such games by only winning by 7 points when you forced the team to have 7 turnovers. They let up 26 first downs, 5 for 5 on 4th down. They only forced 2 punts, and they had 6 turnovers. They let up 368 yards when they took the ball away 6 times. If they didn't do that, the Colts were going to hit for over 500 yards easy there. That's a recipe for disaster if you're taking on a team that is methodical like the Los Angeles Chargers here. When they get a lead, they tend to run the football, keep the ball, keep possession, don't turn it over. So the Steelers are going to have to get out to an early lead here if they want any chance. Luckily for them, no Joe Alt for the Chargers offensive line after his ankle sprain from getting rolled up on last week. He will miss this game. I like the Chargers still to win, but I think it's going to be closer than 73% who have picked the Chargers. But I think that defense isn't going to have that type of performance again from the Steelers. And so I like the Chargers at home.
Yeah, Steelers will be desperate for the win in that one, but it's going to be a tough one on Sunday Night Football. On Monday Night Football, we have the Eagles taking on the Packers in arguably the game of the week. The Eagles are coming off a bye week, and before that, a solid win against the Giants. All of a sudden, with the Lions and the Packers losing, they look like favorites again to get first place in the NFC. They picked up linebacker Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins, which will really help their pass rush. Surprisingly, as we talked about, A.J. Brown has stayed on the team past the trade deadline. Really seemed like it might be more beneficial and better for the locker room to trade him away. But he's an amazing player, and if they can get him more integrated in the offense as the playoffs get closer, who knows what this team can do. The Packers are coming off a tough loss against the Panthers. The Packers did not punt one time the whole game, but turned the ball over twice, fumble in the red zone, and a horrible pass from Love in triple coverage. Had to settle for field goals and did not find the end zone until the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. Micah Parsons was double teamed pretty much the whole game. And for the first time in his career, he did not record a single pressure on the quarterback. Tucker Kraft is out for the year with an ACL tear. Absolutely heartbreaking after he was having a breakout year, stiff arming his way to one of the elite receiving tight ends in this league. Matthew Golden, their star rookie out of Notre Dame, has had a super slow year up to this point. He's going to have to step up in a big way to make up for the Tucker Kraft receptions. I could see this game going either way, but I'm going to go Eagles to take it.
What a game Monday night in Lambeau we have there. The Eagles to take the win, and that is all 14 correct picks for week 10 to bring us up to 96-51 on the season. We're going to rocket up these rankings on ESPN. Remember, we do all of our picks here on Twin Football through ESPN, so make your account pick along with us as we get closer to the playoffs. With only 8 weeks left in the NFL season, pick along with us. This is Twin Football. We give you our picks and predictions every single week in the NFL and the Premier League. If you enjoy the content that me and my twin like to give you every single week, please like, subscribe, and keep coming back every single week. And always remember, enjoy the football.